This Impact Wrestling cover song by Javier Draven, Draven, can be found on his YouTube page, Javier Draven. Also, you can find more at Wrestling Covers on Twitter, at Wrestling Covers, to find more of his music. Alright, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed that song. That's by Javier Draven. That is by Javier Draven, again, Draven. He is kind enough to let me use his cover to We Own the Night by Impact. That's the theme song. I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm starting this thing. It's called Why Is Impact So Good? As you can see, this is reason number one right here. I would be remiss if I did not mention the reason why I started watching Impact in the first place. So this is going to be a short episode, just like all of them. I'm just going to give a rundown for those of you that don't watch Impact, who maybe want to know what's going on with it right now, because a lot of stuff has actually changed in the past 10 years with this company, little by little, and it has actually gotten to be one of my favorite shows to watch. I mean, every time Tuesday comes around, I get just as excited for Tuesday as I do for New Japan, as I do for AEW. The show has become a staple in my life and has become a very, very good show, so I want people to know about it. But real quick, like I said, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Chris Bay. 1 year ago, I wasn't watching Impact, and it wasn't because I didn't want to watch Impact. It's just that I had a stacked schedule like most of us. I was watching a bunch of different wrestling shows and companies, and I worked full-time, and I just had a lot going on. So as I slowly stopped watching some of those other companies, which on this show we're not going to talk about other companies. We may talk about comparisons between wrestlers on different companies, but we're not going to talk about the companies themselves, or this company's better than that company, any of that. But as I stopped watching some of the other companies, I began to watch Impact a little more when I heard that they signed Chris Bay, and that's seriously it. I saw him here. I live in Arizona, in the Phoenix area. He was in Mesa performing at a show, and people were talking about him when I was in line. And I had no idea who this guy was, but they were talking Chris Bay up like, it was the best wrestler on earth. And I had no clue who it was, so I hate not knowing who guys are. So I walked into that show wanting to know who was Chris Bay. Chris Bay came out. You could see right away he was a star. Just look at this right here. I mean, it's not pay-per-view. It's Bay-per-view. You can't even barely see it, but anyway. He's a star right away from day one, so I've been following him since I saw him that day, and since I became what I call an OG fan, because I started following him on the indies. But he's signed with Impact after AEW had talked pretty highly on him, and he had performed in WWE as well. And since he started the show, I started watching it slow. I started watching just his matches. Then I realized, man, he's fighting against these guys that are really talented. So I liked a lot of their X Division, so I decided to get more into the show. Around Slammiversary time, boom, the show just blew up. I mean, WWE released a lot of guys, so Impact signed a lot of those guys. Slammiversary happened. There was a lot of craziness that happened, and it's just been banging ever since. And right now, they are at the top of their game. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown of the show this episode, just because of that. Me talking about Chris Bay might be longer than most of the other episodes, but going forward, I'll just go straight into the review after listening to the theme song, and then I'll just talk about the show, and that's that. So again, why is it so awesome right now? Because from the moment it starts, it's a 2-hour show. It's action-packed from the beginning minute to the very end of the show. Starting off this week was no different. We had a tables match with Jake Something and Cody Deaner, who now goes by Deaner. Deaner about 3 months ago was like Cody Deaner, and he had a backwards hat, and he looked like he was one of the Duck Dynasty guys. Now he looks a lot different. He's with Eric Young now. He looks great now, actually, I think. But Jake Something also went by Cousin Jake. And they were together. They were a team. And now they are split, obviously, because Deaner went with Eric Young and turned on Jake, and Jake went to his indie name. And as many of you know, Jake Something is a big indie name. He's got belts on belts on belts in the indies. We were waiting for that guy to come out. We were waiting for that character, and we got him in Impact, and now we're seeing him in banger matches, just like this tables match. I think I tweeted out how many table shots he was taking, and the table was not breaking. So he was getting hit with the side of the table. It was going into his, into his head, into his body. He was getting hit all over the place. Deaner wasn't getting hit at all. Action-packed match from the minute it started to the end. And I will say that Deaner got hit with the table one time, I think. One time. And that was enough as Jake slams him through a table and the match is over. After the match, this is another reason why the show is so great right now, is they have a guy by the name of, you see it right there, you see a Moose in real life, but there's also a Moose on Impact, and his name is Moose, and he is the only world champion in my eyes on Impact. But he wasn't a recognized champion because he's been carrying around the TNA belt. But that changed after the match. He demanded in the middle of the ring a match with Rich Swann so that he could be the World Heavyweight Impact Heavyweight Champion. He wanted that match, and he wasn't going anywhere until the show, or the show wasn't going to go anywhere until Rich Swann came out and he got his rematch. His match for the belt. So, long story short, Scott Damour came out. A very good personality, Scott Damour. He's great in all the backstage promos. He's great when he comes out and talks to the talent. That guy is awesome. He's a very good head of the company type character to have for Impact right now. So he comes out and says, fine, Moose, you want to be a champion so bad? You're a champion. So that's it. After all this time of me proclaiming him the best wrestler that they have right now, the top champ in Impact Wrestling, he is officially, and today they put it in the books on their website, he is officially recognized as a world heavyweight champion alongside Rich Swann, who is the Impact champion. He is the TNA heavyweight champion. But if you're asking me, he is the only heavyweight champion. So Damour said, you're official champ, but now I can book you in a championship match later tonight against Jake something, the guy he just attacked at the end of the tables match. So that's going to be great. So we get to see Jake something not once, but we're going to get to see him later in the night against Moose. So that was great. Moose walked away happy. He's now an officially recognized Impact champion with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Next, right away, why is Impact so great? Right here. The second match was a banger 6-man match, 3-on-3 tag team with the winner of this match, all X Division guys, all amazing X Division guys, Trey Miguel, Josh Alexander, and Willie Mack, and versus Ace Austin, Chris Bay, who the aforementioned Chris Bay, and Black Taurus from AAA, who filled in for, what I heard was Sammy Guevara. He filled in and became part of Decay. So Black Taurus, Chris Bay, and Ace Austin, that's a talented team. And so is Trey Miguel, Josh Alexander, and Willie Mack. Willie Mack, if you've never seen Willie Mack, a lot of people say Kevin Owens is the best big man, most agile, quick big man. I would say Willie Bay can give him a run for his money. I love Owens. I love him a lot. But Willie Mack, what if you could combine Willie Mack and Chris Bay? That would be perfect. But anyway, Willie Mack is actually one of the most underrated big men in wrestling, and so this match was going to be great from the start. X Division is stacked. So people talk about AEW having a very good tag team division, and NXT having a very good women's division, and WWE having big heavyweight guys. But right now, Impact, their bread and butter is not only their women's division as well, but it's also their X Division. So 6 top guys. The winner of the match the winner team would face off in a triple threat next week to become the number 1 contender to the X Division champ, currently held by TJP, who sneaked his way to getting that belt by dressing as Manic, who's now back to TJP because he couldn't get a title shot as TJP, so he won the title with the Manic character, and then he just changed to TJP, just like that. So looking forward to that match next week. Moving on after the break, I'm not going to cover every segment. There might be a couple I miss. I'll try to at least mention every segment, but I just want to tell you why it's so awesome. So I'm trying to give you a quick rundown of the matches that were awesome and who to watch. Basically anybody in that match: Josh Alexander, Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and Black Taurus. All 6 of those guys, amazing. So coming after the break, there was Nevaeh, who teams with Jessica Havoc, and Havoc was told by Nevaeh that Nevaeh needs some time off, which is kind of sad. She needs some time away. She's kind of sad. She's one of my favorites in the women's division. I met her. She's in Shimmer. She's a very good wrestler, and she's just very solid at everything she does. She presents herself very well, but she's going away. Well, in comes Tenille, who a lot of you may know from WWE. She comes in with her assistant Caleb with a K, and tried to just right in front of Nevaeh, tried to get Jessica Havoc, since the tag team partner of Nevaeh, Havoc, would have nobody. She was trying to just leech right there, just try and steal right from Nevaeh's, and she tried to brand it as Havoc with a K, just like her assistant Caleb with a K. Interested to see how that's going to go. After the break, another reason why Impact's awesome is a lot of people were clamoring for the Good Brothers to get signed after they were released. It seems like a lot of people love the Good Brothers. I would give them, they're very solid in everything they do. Not one of my favorites, but I don't dislike them. But a lot of people were happy that they signed to Impact. They got the belts pretty quickly, so they were in a match versus Triple XL, and that is AC, and I forget his tag team partner's name, I'm sorry. But that was a pretty decent match. It went longer than most people would expect, as the tag team champions, Good Brothers, had some trouble with Triple XL. And so, well, that got brought up after the match. They went backstage, and guess who was in the back? The New Japan team that, shocked the internet when the little promo ran at the end of their last pay-per-view, FinJuice. That is Juice Robinson, and that is David Finlay, who is the son of Hall of Famer Fit Finlay. Been a long-time team in not just New Japan, but I actually had a shirt that I have packed away now because it's a retired shirt. It's a Lifeblood shirt that was in ROH. And ROH had 3 members that are still in ROH, I believe. They also had Tennille Dashwood on that team. This was a Ring of Honor team. But FinJuice was also together in that stable. So I'm very excited. I love those guys. They're very, very charismatic. Juice Robinson is very, very super underrated. So when those guys finally face off, it's going to be great because they were ribbing him in the back a little bit. FinJuice was saying that it took him a little long to win that match. And it did. So, they got a match next week together, and I'll cover that at the end of the show. Moving on, we had the wrestler with the best entrance theme in Impact Wrestling, which is Eddie Edwards. Awesome thing, banger thing. I posted about it. He liked it. He commented. He even responded to the post. Eddie Edwards, I asked him never to change it. I don't think he's going to because it's the best they have. Moose is a solid second for my Impact themes, but I love music, so just go ahead and let me know what your favorite Impact themes are at the comments section. But Eddie Edwards was in a match versus Brian Myers. Or was he? Of course not. Brian Myers weaseled his way out of the match, and he got Hernandez to come in and fill in for him. Quick match, Eddie Edwards disposed of him rather quickly, and of course Brian Myers is very much dismayed at this outcome. In the backstage area, this is one of my favorite segments of the night. It's Matt Cardona and Brian Myers who are arguing right now in Impact. As we know, they do a podcast together, and they've been friends for a long time, but not in Impact. They're enemies right now. And so here comes Scott Damour. He overheard them talking. He came and talked to them. He said, well, there's going to be a match next week, and it's not going to be you weaseling your way out of it. It's going to be Brian Myers, and it's going to be Eddie Edwards, and it's going to be an eye for an eye match. Brian Myers immediately just looks shocked, and he looks scared of what could happen in that match. He's terrified because he's already wearing an eye patch. At the end of the promo, this is the best part. At the end of it, he looks at Scott Damour, and he says, are you serious about that? And Scott Damour, great. You guys got to watch this. I posted it. It's great. He laughed. He's like, eye versus eye match? No, I'm not serious. Who would do that? It's the stupidest thing. And then what? A couple weeks later, his eye would be fine, like nothing happened. This is the stupidest thing. Who would do that? It's a great promo. I can't do it as good as he did, but Scott Damour, again, very good delivery at everything he does. Moving on, like I said, I'm trying to go through this pretty quickly. It was Kimberly, Susan. Who is Susan? Well, Susan is Sue Young, who is also Susie. So she's had 3 gimmicks since I started watching Impact, so it's kind of cool. But it seems like she keeps going from one to another. I think this was a number 1 contenders match for the women's tag team titles, Knockouts tag team titles, who are currently held by Tasha Steelz, one of my favorites, and Kiera Hogan, who a lot of people don't like. But of course, that's my favorite team right now. Fire and Flava. They will be facing the winner of this match, and it was Kimberly and Susan versus Jordan Grace, probably one of the best, according to the internet's, one of the best women's wrestlers out there. She's big, she's dominant, she's very good. And guess who she's teaming with? She's teaming with Jazz. The same Jazz you're thinking of. The same Jazz that was in WWE, that she was a women's champion in WWE a long time ago. Jazz is still going. She looks mean. She looks great. She's fit. So Jazz and Jordan Grace actually won that match, and they became the number 1 contenders, I believe, to the Knockouts Women's Championships. In the backstage area, sometime during the show, I forgot to mention it. There was a lot of gambling going on. There was Rohit. There was the guy that Rohit was. James Storm. I'm sorry, James Storm was in that segment, and Rohit. They ended up getting into a fight over it, and there ended up being in a match next week. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But the main event, it had your official world champion, only world champion, Moose. I'll say it again, Moose came out against Jake something, and as we all knew. And people were trying to tell me that Jake was going to win the match. Love Jake. But people were trying to tell me that Jake was going to win the match. The very first title defense as a world heavyweight champion for Moose. That is an awesome creature. That's in 4K. You know who else is awesome in 4K? Moose, because he's an official world champion, and just like official world champions do, he left no doubt that he is the number one guy in that company by destroying Jake Something. I'm kidding. It was a great match. Jake Something, you got to watch him. He was big on the indies for a reason. He was winning titles left and right on the indies for a reason, because he's really good at what he does. He's really good at wrestling. But Moose is just that much better. At the end of the match, here comes Rich Swann. He's fighting Moose. They're both battling as world champions now, and guess what? They got a match. So can't wait for that coming up. They finally have a date for that match. I'll get that match, the date to that match next show. But going into next week, here's what we got. We got Eddie Edwards finally getting his hands on Brian Myers. It's not going to be an eye versus an eye match, but one thing I did forget to mention was there will be a special guest referee, and it'll be Matt Cardona. So does Matt Cardona help his longtime friend, or does he help his current enemy? Again, great dynamic going on there. That's another reason why Impact is so great right now. And it's going to be a good match. James Storm, like I already talked about, is going to fight the former X Division champion Rohit, who a lot of people like. I think he's a lot like Yano if you watch New Japan. He's a solid wrestler, just like Yano is. And you know, he's capable of winning matches that you don't think he can. And he can sneak a win on just about anybody. So Rohit could beat James Storm next week. In fact, I'm going to call it. Rohit will somehow win. I don't care if it's by disqualification or something, or a sneak attack or a cheat. He's going to win that match. We have that triple threat, which is Chris Bay versus Ace Austin versus Black Taurus, and I will take Chris Bay, of course. Of course. You're going to get a lot of Chris Bay love on Thursday today, on Wednesday, or on Tuesday, or whenever I upload this video going forward. Chris Bay is going to win that match. I will almost never say that he's going to lose any match. Finally, you have the Good Brothers teaming up with Finjuice from New Japan, and they're going to be fighting Reno Scum. I actually like how that team looks. I really like how the one dude's hair is and how they dress. I like that team against Triple X. So Reno Scum and Triple XL versus Good Brothers and Finjuice. As you know, Good Brothers and Finjuice don't really like each other. You know, a lot of condescending talk going on there. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. That's it. That's the matchup for next week that we have announced. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Why is Impact So Great? Because I'm telling you guys, give it another shot. If you don't want to watch 2 hours of that, watch at least 15 minutes of this, 10 minutes of this review episode, and maybe you'll see that there's some things that maybe you should look for. Maybe so there's a little bit, just like me, a little bit that you can find that you could watch that you would enjoy. And you start there, just like I started a couple minutes here and there watching Chris Bay matches, and then watch a little bit more and watch a little bit more. Because right now, anybody on the internet that watches Impact will tell you it is on fire. Unlike, loyalists to a certain company who will tell you it's not the greatest right now. They'll tell you it's not the greatest right now, but I love this company. I'm going to watch it. That's how I am with a couple companies. If New Japan is not the best right now, I'm still going to watch New Japan. But I'll be honest with you. I'm like, it's been better. Same thing with WWE or same thing with AEW. I'll tell you, I've seen better episodes. But I'm telling you right now, Impact is putting on 10 out of 10 shows every single week for Impact, for what your idea of Impact is. So hopefully they can change your mind. Hopefully you'll give it another shot. And again, I'm going to leave you with that. I went over my time with a couple more seconds of Javier Draven's cover of We Own the Night. Have a good night. You guys thought I was going to get out of here without saying who my wrestler of the week was? Well, I've been giving you hints all show. Just like I do in Round the Ring podcasts, the wrestler of the week for Impact is Moose. He got his world championship to be official, and he got a win in the main event with a lot of people called Jake Something to win that match. That is it. Have a good night.